All right, what's happening, everyone? Welcome to a brand new episode of VMFC. This is a bit of a different setup. I promise this is a one off. I had some issues with the recording. There was a lot of stuff going on, and it was unfixable. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to leave you guys without an episode this week. We can't go from Mariano Trujillo one week to nothing the next week, right? So we got to follow up. We got to keep our momentum going. Chris Sued joined the show. I actually got to rescue a little bit of his audio. We will hear from him in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich, of course, if you all don't know, they won the Bundesliga title for the eighth consecutive time. Eight consecutive Bundesliga titles. I mean, it sounds ridiculous because it is ridiculous. Do you know any other dynasty in sports that has won eight consecutive league titles? I'll wait. Okay. Congratulations to Bayern Munich for pulling that off. They were the team that came out of the hiatus, guns blazing. They played tremendously well. It looked like they never really stopped. And honestly, a lot of that goes to, of course, the talent that they have. But it'll be incredibly lazy from me to just credit the talent for the success. I think that, of course, the coaching has been incredible. Hansi Flick came in, and everyone thought that he was just a momentary fix. Everyone thought that he was just going to be at Bayern for a few months, and then once they found their man, he was going to leave. Turns out Hansi Flick is the man that Bayern Munich was looking for. And good luck to the rest of the Bundesliga, because it looks like Hansi Flick might stay in the Bundesliga for a long, long time. And Bayern Munich, you hear that voice crack? In Bayern Munich for a long, long time. Now, of course, we can look at the dominance of Bayern Munich, and we can look at how good they played in that final stretch of the season, of course, even post-hiatus when the Bundesliga returned. But my question is this. What's it going to take for Bundesliga teams to step up and end the reign of terror that Bayern Munich has had for the last decade? What is it going to take? They cannot sign the talent that Bayern Munich signs because they don't have the leverage to. Let's say, for example, I don't know, Philip Coutinho. You have a guy like Philip Coutinho. If he was going to play in the Bundesliga, there was really only two options. You can realistically say only one option where he could go. Bayern Munich. Maybe Borussia Dortmund. Probably not. But I don't see him playing at Schalke. I don't see him playing at Borussia Mönchengladbach. I don't see him playing at Leipzig. I don't see him playing at Frankfurt. There's no leverage. Whenever a player wants to go to the Bundesliga, it's because he wants to go to Bayern Munich, right? So the talent is going to go to Munich. Coaching, and I talked with Chris about this. The coaching seems to be a little bit scary at times. They play against Bayern Munich, and they like to close their lines, and you know they play scared. They're not as gritty as they usually are. So once they can get rid of that barrier that they have in their minds, then we can start talking about a potential end to this dynasty that Bayern Munich has created in this past decade. But I mean, again, realistically, it's not going to happen. Bayern Munich continues to dominate through and through. Rightfully the winners, of course. But yeah, once again, congratulations to Bayern Munich. And if you're not used to seeing Bayern Munich win the Bundesliga by now, either watch a different sport or watch a different league, because I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. All right, Chris Sued joined VMFC. He talked about Chelsea. He gave his assessment on the game. Talked about N'Golo Kante, Christian Pulisic, and his boys. So let's take a listen to what Chris Sued had to say about Chelsea.
Oh man, it was awesome, man. It was awesome. It was a different lineup than I thought it would be out there. I'm not gonna lie. Players like Tammy Abraham, who lead the team in goals, were fat. Christian Pulisic, who's finally healthy, was fat. But it was still an awesome time. One of my personal favorite players, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, came back this past weekend and started the game, which was very encouraging. But a lot of the players look very rusty. I'm not going to lie to you. but I was still very happy just overall like to get the win. People were asking me like, "Oh, 2-1, you weren't expecting like a 5-1, 7-0 win against Aston Villa," and I'm just like, "Nah, man, I'm just happy because we made the point here many times how we can't expect these players to be match fit. Just for them to be out there and run 90 minutes is a lot right now in this heat. They're not even used to it. But yeah, I'm happy, man. I'm happy. Uh, the Wonder Boy came off the bench and scored the first one. I was happy anyway. Just he looks great, man. Christian Pulisic, he looks sharp. I don't know if you were watching. I thought of you when I was watching it because they finally played Conte at CDM.
Mm-hmm.
They sat Jorginho and put Conte deep, which was what everybody's been crying out for these last like 3 years because Conte. They made a very good point. I watched the other day. Conte, when he was with Leicester in that first year with Chelsea, was in a pivot. He was never in a three-man midfield. So we never saw him truly play CDM because he played with Drinkwater, who sat deep, and Matic at Chelsea, who sat deep. So it never occurred to me, wow, that's right. We never seen him in a three-man CDM role, and they finally played him there. They told him to lock down Jack Grealish, and he did exactly that, man.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen. A very happy Chris. Of course, he got to see his beloved Chelsea play one more time. Now, one more topic before I finish this this very crazy episode of VMFC. I want to talk about Arsenal. I think that this is a topic that has to be discussed because one, it's a very popular team here in the United States, and two, it's a big European club, right? Whatever you might want to say about the mighty Arsenal right now and their current situation, they are still one of the European elites for now. For now. Of course, we know what happened. We know what happened with Arsenal against Manchester City last week. They lost, and then last Saturday they lose to Brighton, and it's not so much the result that concerns me; it's the attitude that the players have. And I have a lot of friends that are Arsenal fans. A lot of people that I know are Arsenal fans, and one in particular, I'm pretty close to him. He's a really good friend of mine, and he says, "Listen, if Mesut Ozil is not playing, I'm not gonna watch." And I'm like, Mesut Ozil is not a needle mover, but he's like, no, it's not because of that. It's because I know that if Mesut Ozil is not playing, then I know that we're probably not gonna attack as efficiently and we're not going to be as fun to watch. And I'm like, all right, it makes sense somewhat. Where am I even trying to go with this? I don't even, I guess it's just an experience from an Arsenal fan that I speak to quite frequently. But going back to the attitude that these players have, there was, of course, the goal scorer for Brighton, and I forget his name off the top of my head, but he was part of that incident where Bernd Leno was hurt, and he goes back to the game. You know, he's playing, and they're just talking his ear off, and it's just one of those things where they're talking smack during the game, and it's especially one player, Matteo Guendouzi. He's one of the guys that has been, he's been a problem for Arsenal. He has been a problem for Arsenal, and I want to get into his situation in a little bit. But the players were talking smack when they were up 1-0 against Brighton. Brighton. They weren't up 1-0 against Manchester City. They weren't up 1-0 against Chelsea or Liverpool or Leicester. No, it's a team that is, if I'm not mistaken, is towards the bottom of the table. This is a team that is fighting to stay in the Premier League. Let me just take a look at where Brighton is. They are at 15th. Well, I mean, that doesn't say much because Arsenal's in 10th. But that's who they're competing against. That's who they are talking smack to. This is what Arsenal is becoming. And you know what? It's super disrespectful that I forgot this guy's name. And I'm going to... Neil Mopai. Neil Mopai. Yeah, there we go. Oh, funny. His birthday's August 13th. Mine's the 15th. Anyway, he said that Arsenal players need to be humbled. They do need to be humbled. You know why? And I'm looking at you, Matteo Guendouzi. I'm looking at you. Because you, sir, have not accomplished anything as an Arsenal player. You, sir, are a painfully average midfielder. Painfully average. You are a liability defensively to your team. When your role in Arsenal is to be a defensive midfielder, keyword defensive, a guy that helps the defense, you are a liability to the zone, to the part of the team in which you are supposed to be contributing in. Mr. Matteo Guendouzi, if there is a player that should not be talking smack to opposing players, it is you. You are such a liability. And there's something about having curly hair and playing for Arsenal that screams mediocre defender. I'm looking at you as well, David Luiz, who signed a new deal, who is going to be playing for Arsenal next season as well. Guys, Arsenal may want to say, we want to be a European elite. We want to be a team that competes for European titles in the near future. Well, guess what? If you keep on signing mediocre players like David Luiz, if you keep on giving guys like Matteo Guendouzi an opportunity to continue to mess up, to continue to be a liability, I'm probably way out of focus, to continue to be a liability defensively, well, guess what? You're going to be a mid-table team. You're going to be 10th, 11th, 12th place for the next 10 years. That's really what it's looking like. Let me ask you Arsenal fans this question. Let me ask you this really quick. Let me ask you. How many of the current players, how many of the members of the current squad do you think would break through and make it to the Invincibles team? I'll answer. None of them. Maybe one, maybe two. But most of these guys aren't even worthy of making Thierry Henry a sandwich, let alone sharing a locker room with one of the greatest players of all time. That's what Arsenal has become. A mid-table team. Or what they're becoming. They're becoming a mid-table team. And what sucks the most about Arsenal is that it looks like they have a good coach. Mikel Arteta, he might be inexperienced. He might be a young buck, considering the fact that he's a coach. But still, you have who can potentially be the second coming of Pep Guardiola. And just imagine this. Imagine this. Close your eyes and imagine this. 6 months from now, Arsenal's in 13th place, for example. They are in 13th place, and they haven't won a game in in 4 or 5 match days. They let go of Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta goes to, Real Sociedad or Valencia, or not that either of those teams are looking for a coach. I think Imanol Alguacil and the coach for Valencia, I forget his name, they're Albert Celades. I think that they are two very good coaches and they're doing a great job. But let's just say, for example, Real Sociedad picks Mikel Arteta up. And all of a sudden, Real Sociedad becomes a team that contends for a Champions League spot year in and year out, and Arsenal is left empty-handed. They let go of the second coming of Pep Guardiola. Just imagine that. So Arsenal, look at yourself in the mirror and really ask yourself, what do we want to be? If we want to be a mid-table team, we'll continue to do the same things. We'll continue to sign mediocre players like Guendouzi and David Luiz. Or do we want to be a team that first contends for a Europa League spot, and then once we become an established Europa League team, or a team that goes to the Europa League often, then we will become a Champions League team once again. If that's what they want to become, then they got to look at themselves in the mirror and really start to get rid of the players that aren't contributing much. Ozil, Lacazette, Xhaka, Guendouzi, David Luiz, Mustafi, all these other guys, Socrates maybe, Kolasinac, all of these guys are probably, or should be, out of Arsenal because they really don't contribute much. But yeah, that's my rant. It sounds like I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm not. I guarantee you guys that I am not. But the fact of the matter is that Arsenal is a team that I grew up watching. And I grew up watching because they were fun to watch. And they had a really good squad. And ever since Robin Van Persie left, it hasn't been the same. Alexis Sanchez, he tried his best. But sometimes one player cannot do it all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it. Oh, real quick, before I forget, today is June 24th. 33 years ago today, the greatest player that I have ever seen with my own two eyes was born. In Rosario, Argentina, Lionel Messi was born 33 years ago today. A very, very, very happy birthday to the greatest player that I have ever seen, Lionel Messi. All right, that'll do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all enjoyed this different format. I'll be back to the studio, and I'm pointing right at my room because my room is my studio and my studio is my room. Yeah, I'll be back next week for that. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at AlexPerezFC. You can follow the show on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Veterans Minimum. And Chris, you can follow him at Chris Solodolo _ on Twitter. If not, I'll just have it linked in the description. That'll do it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, take care. Enjoy the games. Goodbye.